Hi. So we're now about half an hour away from the ring walks in Riyadh between Usyk and Fury for the Unified World Heavyweight Championship belt. This is a significant bout because it will be a genuinely unified title. Everything in the 21st century so far has been disputed as being unified. Um, so this is a significant bout. How much action there will be remains to be seen. I don't have pay-per-view, so I'm not going to be able to watch it live. I'll listen on radio, like 1930s style. Let's fix up my hair there a little bit. Yeah, so just a few things to say about this. Usually I do post-fight analysis, so I mean not often, but when I do talk on boxing, it's usually post-fight. This one's pre-fight. I'll just say right now, frankly, I hope Usyk pulls it off. Of the two fighters, I prefer Usyk. It would be a great moral victory. I hope he pulls it off. But I'm also a realist, and I know that is a big ask. Fury has the size advantage. He has durability, and there's been many times, he has just come back. I just think that this is a really big ask for Usyk, notwithstanding all the very real skills that he has. It's a big ask. If I mean, whichever guy wins this, it's significant. If Fury wins it, he will be, secure the unified heavyweight championship as a British fighter, the first to do so since Lennox Lewis in that way. And I think he will maybe surpass Lennox Lewis as Britain's greatest heavyweight. There was, of course, a long hiatus between Bob Fitzsimmons and Lennox Lewis. We had to wait for most of the 20th century. And even when Lennox got it, that was not universally kind of accepted in the UK because Lewis had grown up in Canada. So there was sort of a grudging sense of him being like an adopted Briton, although he was born in London. With Fury, I think that if he pulls it off, it will definitely be, a tiny bit of me, the patriotic side of me thinks, yeah, that'll be great. But honestly, in recent years, I've went right off Tyson Fury. I think he has often been more of a mouth than an exemplary sportsman. I just think there's aspects of his personality I don't care much for, and I'll come into that in a minute. Um, but yeah, I'm a realist. I think it is a big ask for Usyk. I just think that if he did pull it off, he would, secure his place in history. He would be up there with people like Evander Holyfield, um, better probably than David Haye, but I'm thinking of cruiserweights who went up to heavyweight. Now Usyk, of course, has already done it. He's beaten Anthony Joshua twice. So, Alexander Usyk is not a fighter to be downplayed. He's he's a hell of a fighter, and even if he loses tonight, I think he can still hold his head high. I mean, you could see the physical difference between Fury and Usyk. It's even more obvious than between Usyk and Joshua. Um, and so even if he doesn't win, I think Usyk can hold his head high. The man's got guts. He's literally been on the front line in a war zone. Zelensky ordered him then to fight for his country in the ring. Um, this doesn't have the hype as, say, if Usyk was fighting a Russian guy. Britain and Ukraine have good relations for obvious reasons. But I will say this though. Uh, people might say, "Well, aren't you rooting for the British fighter?" Honestly, I don't like Fury's antics in recent years. I do not like the way he has disrespected Usyk. Now, I know the fighters hype up fights. I know that there's a lot of that involved, and Fury is a colourful character. So I wouldn't expect him to necessarily carry himself the way Vladimir Klitschko or Anthony Joshua did. But sometimes I think he's crossed the line to just being an ass. Like that time after, I believe it was after the Dylan White fight, when he called out Usyk in the stadium, and it was just vulgar. He was just calling him names and hyping up the jingoistic fan base and stuff. I did not like it. Um, Fury certainly is in no position to be calling Alexander Usyk, you know, uh, anything when he has served his country. I just think there's a certain degree of respect that's missing from Fury. And dare I say, he's like a big bully boy the way he sort of, especially his antics yesterday, like pushing Usyk down, a smaller fighter. It looks a bit. and I don't know, it looks like bad sportsmanship. As for John Fury, the guy's an embarrassment. He's just a mouthpiece. He's a glorified thug as far as I'm concerned. I think the whole Fury camp is an embarrassment. Contrast that to Usyk's side, who prefer not just Usyk himself, but his entourage. In fact, he told his entourage to back off and not get involved. An exemplary sportsman, as most Ukrainian fighters are. So honestly, in a way, I want the smugness to be taken away from Tyson Fury. I think he's discredited the sport to some extent. Clearly he has skill, but this is a guy who constantly comes out with these flippant statements like he doesn't care about legacy, he doesn't care about money, and all that sort of thing. To kind of take him for granted what a lot of fighters work really hard for. I do have a problem with that. I think there's hyping a fight and then there's going to the point of disrespecting the opponents. Actually, there's similarities between Fury and Ali in that sense. I think Ali crossed the line as well at times, um, to the point of, going beyond hyping a fight to being just disrespectful. There is a difference. Um, but, I think Fury will probably win. That's just, he's a bigger fighter, he's durable. I'm not sure how Usyk can win if he's got power, he's got strength, but he doesn't have the power of Ngannou, and I don't know what he can do to win this. Um, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Now, the final point I want to make is regarding the venue, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's part of the Riyadh season. Saudi has obviously went out of its way to promote big fights, and I'm a little bit skeptical of that. I'm skeptical of any country with an appalling human rights record, and let's not gloss over it. Saudi does have an appalling human rights record. um, Using a sporting event for PR. It's a facade because Beijing tried that with the Olympics and their human rights records only got worse. Now, some people, a lot of boxing fans won't care about that. I know that, but I'm into the sport of boxing, but I do care about human rights, and I do. This is a country, where atheists are treated one and the same as terrorists. So it doesn't sit well with me that it's getting so much attention. If it leads to some reforms, that may be a good thing. For example, a practical thing, women in at ringside, female reporters, girlfriends of the fighters, etc., wife in Fury's case, if their presence kind of means okay, women could go to these events, and if it breaks down those sort of barriers in a country like Saudi Arabia, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe international focus will put more pressure on them to reform. There's been very minor reforms in Saudi, but I can't help thinking, is it just a big PR facade? I don't know. It doesn't entirely sit well with me, and there's a lot of other big bouts lined up. Joshua versus Wilder was supposed to be on the joint ticket with this bout, but that's fallen through. Anyway, I'll wrap this up. The fight's going to happen soon. I'm going to listen on radio. Fury's probably going to get it, and yes, that will cement his place as great British heavyweight, etc. But I think if Usyk can pull this off, as Vladimir Klitschko said, this will send out a message to Russia that Ukraine is a sovereign country. This is a Ukrainian fighter, doing himself proud. I think it would be a great morale boost for Ukrainians at a time when, these are dark days for Ukraine. So I'm not saying that winning a boxing match will win the war, but it will be a good morale boost, I think, if Usyk can pull this off. And if he does, he will be. I go as far as saying he would be one of the greatest fighters in history if he could pull this off. Um, because really, defeating two much larger heavyweights, it's a big ask, but we'll see what happens. I just hope that if Fury does win, he's magnanimous in victory and he doesn't, I think really he's polarized a lot of people. I give Usyk credit for talking about mental health issues and that sort of thing, but in recent years he's just been crass. His father's an embarrassment, um, and I don't like the flippant way he talks about the sport, like he says he doesn't care. Well, why is he in it then? A lot of young fighters really, really work hard to get, opportunities, and Fury just comes out with these flippant comments. Um, Also, he keeps, mouthing off, and then fights get cancelled, and Usyk has been flexible, so Fury should respect that. Um, I just hope if he wins, he's magnanimous and gives Usyk credit. If he doesn't, then that's disgraceful. It will show that he lacks any sportsmanship. Um, I just hope he is magnanimous in victory. We talk about being magnanimous in defeat. Well, there's also such a thing as being magnanimous in victory. And I hope Fury could be decent and give Usyk credit.